Well, welcome back from that break. You're still watching News Nights with me, Manuel Samani. Now, we are fortunate to be joined by private legal practitioner Richard Nyama for his thoughts on this, to break down what the law really says about this conversation. Counsel, good evening to you. First of all, what are the limitations when it comes to this constitutional rights talking about freedom of speech?
Okay, good evening. Freedom of speech
Hello, Counsel,
in
can you hear me?
itself is not absolute. Even though we are all
Hello, Counsel, can you hear
expected
me?
to have our freedom and say whatever we have to say, the law also requires us to be reasonable in saying things that will not affect unrest and dissatisfaction and so on and so forth. And so, yes, even though we have freedom of speech, there are certain limits that it can get us to. If I may give an example, if you sit on radio or social media and you call someone a thief, when the person has not been convicted by a competent court of jurisdiction, that person can sue you in defamation, because at that point in time, you did not have any reasonable ground to call him or her a thief, but you have called him or her a thief. And so if the person wants to sue you for defamation, that person will be able to sue you for defamation. And that is on the civil side. On the criminal side, there are certain things that when you say, the government or the police will have problems with you. And some of those things include saying things that can cause unrest. And I think under section 208 of our Criminal Offences Act, saying things that are untrue with the intent of causing fear and panic in the public. And so when you say things in that line also, then the police can also arrest you and prosecute you for committing a crime.
What, for example, can constitute something that would cause unrest or fear and panic? Because maybe to someone, well, this does not mean like a big deal. And so, I think it's open to interpretation. Is that the case?
Yes, everything about the law, unfortunately, is open to interpretation. And so that gives the police a wider discretion to determine what will cause the fear and panic. And which is why sometimes some people may say some similar things and the police might allow them to go, because maybe at that point in time, in their estimation, they did not expect that to cause fear and panic.
So if that's the case, there's a school of thought that says, well, it's because of that lacuna when it comes to Section 208, people can weaponize this and go for, political prosecutions. How can people protect themselves? And do you also have or agree with this school of thought that says, well, perhaps it could lead to, victimization and political prosecution because of this, open-endedness of this law, if you like?
There's no perfect law in this world. And any person who wants to weaponize any law for political persecution can always weaponize it. Now, if we want to ensure that it becomes difficult for politicians to weaponize law, then it goes on us to ensure that the institutions that are supposed to enforce the law become non-political. For example, we can decide that we are taking away the powers of the president to appoint an IGP and to sack them and so on and so forth. Once you do that, there's a certain level of independence that will be given to the police. In the same way, one could also decide that the Attorney General, who is responsible for all prosecutions, should not be under the president or should not be a politician. And once we succeed in amending the law to make sure that Attorney General is not a politician, there's a certain level of integrity and fairness that will be expected in prosecution of cases, because then nobody can say I'm being prosecuted because I belong to party A or party B.
If that's the case, counsel, does it mean that citizens should more or less be mindful or be minded and cannot really express what they really think, particularly in the public space, because of how these things can be interpreted?
You see, whether these things are there or not, we all have to be careful and be minded of what we say in the public space, because it is not everyone who will report you to the police. It is not everyone who will have the patience to sue you in court for defamation. Somebody can decide to hide somewhere and harm you. You may report the person to the police, but by the time the person is arrested, you've already been harmed. So all of us must be guided to be mindful when we mount microphones and media platforms to say things. Because, the golden rule always applies. Do unto others what you would have them do to you. If you think there is something that if someone says about you, you are not going to like it, then you should also not be saying it about someone else.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for that education. But before I let you go, counsel, there is a video on social media circulating where we see a young woman physically assaulting a young man as well, multiple slaps across the face, where she even, pulls off her slippers and, uses it as a weapon against this man. For viewers who haven't seen it, it's going to pop up on your screen right now, physically assaulting the guy, and there are other men standing there, and she's sort of in what they call jostling the man, and, landing multiple slaps across his face. You can see her, basically beating the man as if he's been lynched. So I want to come back to what the law says when it comes to domestic violence. It seems as though when it comes to women beating men, it's women are more protected. What do you make of some of these violence against men by women?
Okay, so violence in Ghana has no color. It doesn't matter whether you beat a man or you beat a woman. Once you beat someone, you have committed an offense and you can be arrested and prosecuted. I am expecting the young one to report the matter to the police so that the lady can be arrested. Similarly, I'm expecting the Ghana Police Service to also mount a manhunt for the woman, because we have seen in this country several examples where videos pop up and within days the police will arrest the culprit and charge them before the court. I don't think we should be tolerating things like this. It shouldn't matter that it is against a man or against a woman. The law is the law, and it simply says that nobody has the right to use force against the other. And so if you go and beat someone, whether the person is a man or a woman, the police are supposed to arrest you and prosecute you.
Well, let me bring in security analyst Richard Komado. Mr. Komado, I'm sure you've seen the video as well. Your initial reactions to when you saw this video?
What my brother Richard now said, that the case needed to be reported to the police, for the police to look into it, if it means inviting the woman over. But violence, irrespective of whoever committed it, is it's not right. Whether women beating men or men beating women, it look a little bit ugly and it look awkward. And I think the police will need to speak to both parties, particularly when we have an institution on Israel called DOSO that deals with many of these domestic violence issues. DOSO will need to step up a little bit, and the police in general will need to step up because there's too much anger in the system, and the tendency of people beating themselves is very high. And that is why once in a while we hear some of these cases coming to the public view.
Now, one thing I want to get your thoughts on is particularly when it comes to, men who are being abused by women. You hear stories of these men going to report these forms of domestic abuse and domestic violence against them. And you hear stories of people say, well, you a man, why are you letting a woman beat you, and so on and so forth. Is that still the case within the jurisdictions of the Ghana Police Service?
Yeah, definitely. It's just the fact that mostly the men will not complain. and the men will want to survive in silence. And that is why some advocacy groups, they don't just advocate for women's liberty, but they also advocate for freedoms of men from abusive wives and women. No matter what it is, the police as a law enforcement institution will have to be interested in the well-being of men and women at a goal. So whoever infringes upon the right of the other person, the police should be interested. And I want to believe that the police will be interested in this particular one. So the man should report, or somebody close to the man should report to the police, so that the police can investigate this one, and whatever be the sanctions, it will be applied.
Now, I mean, if you've seen the video, you've seen that there are other men around, this man who's been abused, and even the men are not doing much to protect the man. And it's, if it were the other way around, there will be so much outrage. But because it's a man being beaten, it seems as though people have gone to sleep. But, counsel, I want to find out from you that the same protections that govern, say, a woman who's being abused, is that the same protections available to the man as well?
Yes, the protections are the same. The protections are gender neutral. It doesn't matter whether it is against a man or against a woman. However, what I have seen is that most men do not report when they are being abused, but the women will certainly report. And so a lot of the time, we get men arrested for such offenses, and then the women will not be arrested for committing similar offenses. But this one was on video. And so, in my estimation, even if the man fails to report, the police should be able to arrest the woman and prosecute her, so that it will become a lesson for all others to know that violence against men will also be prosecuted.
So, Mr. Kumado, my next and final question comes to you. Assuming I have seen this video and I want to make a report to the police station, can I just walk in there and say, hey, I want to report a case of domestic abuse against a man?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. You can do that. And I think that's what counsel said. That's what counsel has confirmed. And that's what I said earlier. You can do that. You can show the video to the police, at the Dorso department or any police station, and follow it up. They will have to take interest in it. And the days of social media where things travel very far, they'll have to be interested in it. And I believe seriously that anybody at all near the man or closer to the man can take it up and report to the police.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time here on Newsnight. Lawyer Richard Nyama is a private legal practitioner and security consultant Richard Kumado speaking to us on this rather unfortunate viral video where we see a woman physically assaulting a man, not just with her hands, but she then proceeds to take off her slippers and uses it as a weapon against this man. We hope that we don't see these things, gain momentum where other women are emboldened, even other men are also emboldened to, physically assault each other, especially as we're heading into the festivities. And that's it from us here tonight, here on Newsnight on Bullet TV. Bullet TV is 1 year old. We want to thank you so much for being a part of our journey, being a part of our story from last year up until now. And your support has been crucial to the development and growth of this channel. I want to say a very big thank you for making so much time with us and spending your 10 p.m.s with us here on Bullet TV. My name is Emmanuel Samani. I'll see you same time tomorrow. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.